So good morning, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. My name is Manuel. I work in sales and technical support for Pentalogix. We have Max Hensey from product development as well with us. Today we're going to be going over the PCB Navigator, how to make your Gerbers, the BOM and XY data work together. Let's get going right away. So the problem with the fabrication data, when a PCB design is released for manufacturing, the information is typically exported as Gerber data. So the most common format at least is going to be Gerber data. We can see a Gerber file here on a notepad, just what you get, a bunch of numbers and text. So the Gerber files are excellent describing the geometries. So you will be able to define copper layers, pads, traces, the solder mask. But there's something very important missing from Gerber data because it's not component aware. So you only get the geometries, but you cannot like click on something and know what component you're looking at right away. So yeah, you can see the pads, traces, but the software has no understanding of what those shapes are representing. It can be very time consuming to just search manually for different components by looking at maybe the silk screen and trying to find a reference designator. So let's get to the next one. So what's missing from the fabrication data? As I was mentioning, so you don't see the components. You don't get the part numbers that are going to be in the bill of materials. So that can be very complicated, especially when teams are trying to talk to one another about, find this component on the file and let me know if that's the correct path. Sorry for that. So the Gerber data alone is not the best way to know the components you're looking at on the board. So why adding intelligence matters? The benefits you're going to see, you're going to be able to verify the design is ready for assembly, make sure that no parts are missing the bill of materials or the pick and place. You basically compare one against the other. You might have pick and place showing a position for a component, but then it's not on the bill of materials. That can be problematic. Some of the use cases, if you want to find you have some parts and you cannot find them on the Gerber files, you will be able to find the part number, make sure where it is. Again, the team collaboration, as I was mentioning, you can basically communicate more effectively with your colleagues. And you will be able to check the placement versus the bill of materials right away. So that's when we created the PCB Navigator. So PCB Navigator is basically a tool that is going to transform the fabrication data into a component-aware PCB view. It's going to allow you to identify located components instantly. You can cross-reference data, verify the design and assembly details. Again, it's going to improve communication and documentation as well. So how does the PCB Navigator work? So how does PCB Navigator work? So now that we know the limitations of traditional fabrication data, the benefits of that adding intelligence can add, let's look at how we actually make it. So on the first piece of information is going to be the fabrication data, again, the Gerber data. The files are going to define the geometries, traces, paths, vias, the component outlines. Then we're going to add the bill of materials, which contains release components, the reference designators, and the part numbers from the manufacturer. The manufacturer part numbers for all the different components in the PCB. But again, the bill of material alone is not going to be able to show us anything on the Gerber data. And then that's when the third important part of the data comes in, which is the pick and place data. And this is the one that's gonna give us the coordinates on the board for each of the different components. And the PCB Navigator basically combines the three of them to make it, again, a component-aware environment that you can navigate. So let's go ahead and do a run through, show you how the PCB Navigator works on ViewMate. So, 1 second. Okay, so we have ViewMate here. Let's go import a Gerber set. We have this project. It's importing Gerber data. Okay, so we have regular PCB file here, Gerber data. We go ahead and open our PCB Navigator. So how does it work? So the PCB Navigator, you're going to have to do some setup. Let's start from the beginning. Start over. Okay. So the first thing, as I was mentioning in the presentation, you see you have the Gerber data. Now you have to add the bill of materials and the XY data. Let's start by adding the BOM file. So we have it right here. Okay, so the first part, the data identification. If your CSV or Excel file, if it has a header, just make sure you select the first row here. So the software knows that the list of components has a header row. Go next. We identify the different columns. It auto-identifies by the name of what it can identify. So in this case, it knew that the reference designator was this column, quantity was this column. These are the ones you definitely need to have. So the manufacturer part number. If you had a DNP, do not populate column, you can also identify that. Again, if it's a CSV file, or if you're using a different type of separator in the file for the different data here, this is CSV, so this should be fine. Okay, then we're gonna load the XY data. And you might see that it has a secondary XY data. Sometimes you might have XY data for the top, XY data for the bottom. If they're separate, you can do that. If it's in the same file, you can just load one file. So in this case, starts by reading the configuration, shows you a preview of the raw data. You want to trim white space. Yes, it's a CSV, so comma file. Okay, units for the file are going to be millimeters. That's going to be good to know. One of the next steps. Again, we identify the header first. Here, these are the things that you must make sure that you identify before proceeding. So you have the reference designator, placement site, location in X, location the Y, X and Y, orientation, degrees. And so yeah, since the columns have the exact names, so it auto-identify that. But if for some reason, if you had maybe instead of location X, you just have X, you would make sure that you select it here. Okay, so for the placement side, as I mentioned, if it's one XY data, you have top and bottom, you probably would have found two different values. You would assign here, in this case, we only have top layers, so we only have components on the top. we're gonna go top side. If you had a bottom here, you can select the bottom as well. And the units, as we saw in the first step, when loading the XY data, it said the units were millimeters. So we're gonna select millimeters. From click here, we go next. In this step, this is very good to know. There are two different options to go about the way we're going to use PCB Navigator. If you just want to see the location of the components pointed here in the data, you don't have to do the auto identify. This actually is going to be, let's say, a plus, an add-on that you can do to get a better look at the actual footprints. So basically what we do in this step is accept or uncheck if you didn't want to, but this is gonna send the part numbers from the bill of materials to the ViewMate cloud, and the cloud is gonna send back information with footprints for what it finds. It might not find everything. In this case, let's show you how it works. Basically connecting to a server and getting the information from there. And whatever it doesn't find, it's not going to be a problem. We can either identify manually. We can just leave it to as I'm going to show you next. But yeah, the main thing about the PCB Navigator is to actually be able to locate components right away. If you're going to have a list of the part numbers, you're going to be able to click on that and go directly to the location in the Gerber data. But of course, having the footprints might be very useful. And you could even, with ViewMate Professional, you have the option to, once you create all these files that the PCB Navigator makes, you're going to have a component layer, and then you could export an ODB plus file that has basically the component footprints there. This usually takes, say, about a minute. Going back and forth with the server, because it's going to get all the information. You're going to see the picture and the specifications for each component that it finds. And again, this probably won't take that long if you're only running the PCB Navigator with ViewMate, that I have quite an amount of software running at the same time. Okay, so once it finishes up, we get a summary. So it found 36 part numbers, 82 components. And from the footprints it was trying to find, it found 62 of them. 20 footprints were not identified, so that's okay. Okay, now it's back here. Okay, so you can look at what it found, what it didn't find, and let's click on actually navigate. It's going to ask you if you want to identify the missing footprints right away. Let's not do it right now. First thing I want to do, you can rearrange the windows. Easier to work this way. Okay, so this is the main PCB Navigator window. We get all the components here. And how it works, basically, you click on a component, it's going to show you where it is right directly on the board. So this is the dark mode. It activates every time you click on a component. And you can find the different components just by clicking on them. Very useful if you always want to have, for example, the specs. You can find capacitor 1 here, C1. You will know right away the part number and exactly the type of component you have here. So I can think of different case scenarios where this will be very useful, especially for teams working, asking one another to take a look, review some footprints, some components. One thing I maybe forgot to mention in the summary. And in this case, okay, there were no problems in this case, but one thing that it will let you know right away, and which is probably one of the most important things when you load up bill of materials and the next way data, are going to be the discrepancy. So if you have a component in the bill of materials and it's not in the XY data, it will let you know right away, like this part, this reference designator is in the BOM, but you don't have it in the XY data. So then you can go back and check on that. So this is the main navigation window and how it works. Let's take a look at some features inside the actual PCB Navigator. So for example, you have the filter option here. Let's say you just want to see all the components you have on the top. In this case, this board only has components on the top, nothing on the bottom side, so not very useful. Let's say we have do not populate elements. Again, this board doesn't have any do not populate, but you can filter using this. Let's say, as I mentioned, identify more than 60 components, but I believe 20 of them were not identified. So you have all these different not identified components. And this is how it's going to show. Basically, taking the XY data and pointing it exactly on the Gerber file where those components are. And okay, we didn't get the footprint right away, but we can actually identify them. We have this assistant right here. So it's going to ask you to identify the things you missed. So for example, it has 13 part numbers pending. Let's do maybe a couple of these so you can see how it works. So you see XY data pointing exactly at the center of the footprint. And, you know, these two paths are actually going to be the ones for D1. And again, one amazing feature, once you're identifying, if you wanted to, for example, see the data sheet of this component, you can just click there. It's going to take you to the component. We can verify everything is exactly what we think it is. J4. I know this component has all these paths. And again, this is something that you don't need to do. It's just a nice feature to be able to identify all the footprints. But yeah, anyways, I mean, we don't need to identify all the footprints. We're going to have different LEDs. And if you see, one thing I probably didn't mention, you can click on target component. For example, if you had 10 of these LEDs, in this case, only 2 match this part number. You can see many LEDs, but these are probably 2 with that color. Once you identify one of them, the 2 of them are identified. And we could go over and finish the whole board, because we only have 7 missing parts, but let's just go back here. Let's clear the filters. Let's keep going on the different filter options that we have. So we were looking at the identified or identified. We can filter by manufacturer part number. The ones that we name, in this case, we know all the part numbers. But if something was unknown for the software, it's going to show it to you right here. We can see SMT components. Okay, let me move this one up. And of course, you can combine filters if you want to see the SMT components, and you also want to see the ones that are on the top side. So you can see SMT on the top side. It's going to show you only those. Let's say we want to see through-hole components. So those are the through-holes that we have in the board. You can also use the search bar. Let's say you want to find U4. I'm going to take you right there. All these little things are going to help you understand what you have here. So if you see the components going to the top, it's because on the top side, if it was on the bottom, it would go to the bottom. DP, it's in the bill of materials. It's not a DNP. If it was a do not populate, it would show here. It's an SMT. And this one, the footprint has not been identified yet. Let's say we want to identify the footprint. So we can just select the paths. But yeah, we don't need to do this right now. Let's go back, clear this. So we talked about the filters, about the search. In one, because many people are probably wondering, okay, great, I have the list of components to the left, but what if I actually want to see information of something that I know on the actual file, I mean to the right. So you can easily just go and let's say we want to inspect here. You have this SW2, which you don't know what component it is. You just click here, go to inspect. It's going to take us right here. This is the part number. So for this component, they didn't identify it, but we can do that. L1, for example. Then we go inspect. It's going to give us information for that component. So yeah, so you can see you can go back and forth. I mean, left to right or right to left. If you have something in the bill of materials that you want to see on the board, or if you have something on the board for which you want to know the information, you can just click and inspect to get the whole information. Some of the other things, the config menu, you can show. Right now we're showing it by reference designator. So for example, you have the list this way. Let me remove this text for a moment. But if you wanted to see by part number, then it's going to group. So you know that this part number, all these reference designators are going to be turned on. Amazing feature. And again, very useful tool, because let's say you don't find a component trying to buy everything for the board, and you need to change to find a substitute for one of the components. You can right away see if there's a difference in size for the design that you have, if it's something you can match and make it work just by looking at the specs of what you have right here. See, so you have all the information for the component right there with your Gerber data. Orange window, basically just so you can have this view. Components visibility and summary, probably my favorite thing to see all the time. And we have, this is a very useful feature that we have. You can actually create views. Let's say you want to filter, you want to have the top side, you want to have only identified, and you want to have only S&T components. You can go ahead, add new view, S&T on top, S&T components on top side. So you can just go and get the S&T components on the top side by saving that view. Just that easy. Let me see, we're getting a bunch of different questions. We'll get to, I think that Max is already answering in the chat. But yeah, let's finish here. Other things besides the views. And one of the things you can do with the views, for example, if you want to see what you have in the bill of materials, so you don't have any XY data, you can also, basically filter for the unknown part numbers. So when you don't have, finally on the other side, create a view. So when you load the file, you will know, okay, this is what is the things that are not matching right now. Other than that, I think that we went over all the features, I think. Again, the search, if you wanted to find a specific reference designator, you can just do a search, find it out. Very easy. Another important thing, you have these actions here for every component. So let's say you want to get the data sheet for that component. You just click there. There you go. You have the data sheet. You can even see the footprint and make sure right away that it's matching with what you have here. You can also go to the vendor's website. So for example, maybe someone is inspecting a board and want to make sure that, okay, let's find this component. You click there and you can see that it's in stock in Mouser. You can just, confirm that it's in stock, so you can go ahead and buy the components. So yeah, I think that covers pretty much all the different features. Again, I would say that probably the most impressive one is just being able to click on something on the board, click on inspect, and having that information right away. Just almost like magic for me. But anyways, let's wrap this up, go back here, and let's talk about some practical use cases. Okay, so manufacturing and troubleshooting. So let's say an issue is reported from the fabrication assembly. The first step is usually going to be identify the affected component, understand the context on the board, and you can confirm the footprint, check the orientation, verify the associated part number without having to cross-reference multiple files. So you don't need to have a bill of materials open. You have Excel file, two CSV files, doing a search on that file, trying to find it on the Gerber data. You have everything in one place, so you can just click on the left or the right and find that information. For assembly verification, that's another key use case. Because even when the design is complete, it's very important to ensure that the placement data and the board layout are fully aligned. And combining the PCB layout with the pick and place data, you can visually confirm the components correctly positioned and oriented. So this is going to help catch potential issues early and reduce the risk of errors during assembly. And finally, broker sourcing validation. So to validate the components. So when the components are sourced, especially through brokers or alternative suppliers, it's very important to confirm that the parts match the intended design. Something I was mentioning before. We're looking at the file. You can locate the component, inspect the footprint. You can even go to the data sheet with one click directly from your software and verify the package type directly against the layout. So across all of these use cases, I would say the advantage is the same. You're not longer just interpreting disconnected data with like having a Gerber data and then an Excel file. You're interacting with that unified component overview of the PCB. Now, I think that we can go and check some of the questions here. I see many in the chat, some in the Q&A section. Max, you're with me. I think that you've been answering most of the questions in the chat, right?
Yes, I have. I think Chris also has been answering some as well. And sometimes we both answered. It's probably a good thing that we both said the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know if you can mention some of the main questions, most important questions you found here, because I see too many questions. I don't know which one to go for. Let's see, yeah, it's available. You made essentials. You made professional.
I see a question about importing a BOM and it's not working. You might try saving the BOM as a CSV file and try again. And if that doesn't work either, then if you can email us your BOM, we'll be happy to take a look.
Yes. Let me see the Q&A section. So Max, we have that question about what about reading in a net list and associating copper traces with nets?
In ViewMate Professional, you can import a net list. You can also create a net list from the existing Gerber data. So if you just want to see how things are connected on the board, for example, like let's say you've built a prototype, it comes in and you find a short on your boards and you're not sure what's going on. Well, if you extract the net list from your Gerber data and then click on one of the elements that are part of your short, if it highlights the other net as well, then it means you truly have a short in your data, as opposed to having a solder bridge somewhere or some other assembly error.
I see a question. Maybe we didn't answer this. Does the user have the ability to edit or modify the part lookup database? So right now, the way the part lookup works, just loading that data from the BOM. So you would need to edit the bill of materials and just running the PCB Navigator
I think
again.
Manuel, I think Chris answered that in saying it's a feature that is coming soon.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. So right now the way it works is the way that is, but yeah. Oh, I see. It's a coming soon feature. I see. PCB Navigator is included in ViewMate Pro, so it is on ViewMate Professional. ViewMate Professional is the update to ViewMate Pro, which is now a subscription-based software. As an question, if we send the bill of materials and external server, there is a risk of security. What guarantees can you give us a sense of? Okay, so one of the questions is about if we send the bill of materials to an external server, there is a risk of security, as you will have a board design and parts list. What guarantees can you give us that our designs and parts list are not going to be accessed by anyone unauthorized?
Chris, maybe you can answer that one.
Yeah, and again, I would say that when I was going through the run through, we're aware of that situation, and many people will not want to use the auto identify. So you don't need to do it. But yeah, I think that okay, Chris is probably gonna answer about the security part. But yeah, so some companies simply, and maybe they're working, they have maybe some of the customers are going to be using this offline. So you don't even have access to a connection when you're using it. And you don't need to connect to the server to still have the same functionality that we show, because it's going to identify with the coordinates from the XY data, the components on the right. It's just that you wouldn't have access to the other embedded features like the image and specifications for the parts, because that's only going to be able to be accessed with the server.
And so, Paul, to answer your question about using it offline, yes, you can. you lose some of the functionality. For example, the ability to retrieve data sheets. But what you can still do is, click in the BOM on a component, and it will go to the location on the board. And you may not see the footprint because we have not retrieved the footprint, but you'll at least see the center of the component. Now you can zoom up or out, and you can quickly kind of see what the footprint is. So you can use it offline if you're concerned, really about security.
Okay, do we have any other questions that we might be missing here? Okay, I see another question about working offline. Can you link a local offline data sheet database to the tool so that you do not lose the data sheet lookup function if you're using the tool offline? So yeah, Chris should be able to reply to that question. That's actually a very great feature that we should integrate in. I believe we're working on creating our own footprint database.
Yeah, but I think Manuel is looking at the ability to retrieve data sheets for a part from his local computer.
Exactly.
So that so that he can just say, okay, U4, for example, he wants to be able to go to the File Explorer, find it, right, and then click on it and use it in the tool.
Yeah, I definitely think that that's a great suggestion. Something that we can definitely work on for future updates, because that's going to be very useful to anyone who doesn't have access to internet connection, or they need to work offline because of security risks.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't have any other questions, just want to end this by mentioning again the PCB Navigator. The module is going to be available not only on ViewMate Professional, but it's also on ViewMate Essentials. I hope you guys, we answered I think all the questions that we had. If you happen to have new questions, feel free to reach out. I put the support email right there, or the phone number. We're happy to help with any other questions that you have. If you're interested in trying it out, we give free trials, so you can just go to the ViewMate page and get a free trial for the software. Try it out with your own files. And again, we'll be happy to help you with any questions. Hope you find this very useful today. And we'll keep in touch in a future webinar. Anything else you want to add, Max?
I know. I just we welcome your feedback very much. So any questions we didn't get to here, we will answer later. And if you have any suggestions on things that might improve this, or just hearing your thoughts about what you think about doing this, kind of using the BOM and the pick and place file to kind of help navigate, your fabrication files. We see it as something that's useful if you have a large team that is working together, and maybe not everybody is familiar with the design. It makes it easier to talk about things and move from one place to another on the board. So we've invested a lot of time in this to bring this to you guys, and would love to hear your feedback. So as always, you're free to contact us via email or telephone, or however is most comfortable for you.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a great Thursday, and thanks again for joining. Have a wonderful day. Bye now.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.